And another thing that you definitely want to try not to do is really read somebody's bio or ask them to tell them about themselves. So let's start with the bio and then go to the last thing. It's ask them to tell them about themselves. When we as podcast hosts, when we read a whole bio, it's honestly boring. In fact, I stopped having people read my bio. They ask for a bio and I will literally tell them, like when we get on a podcast recording, and I do a lot of them now, when I'm on somebody else's show, I say, hey, are you planning on reading my bio or just talking about a couple of things? And they'll be like, oh yeah, I was just going to read your bio. And I'll go, oh, okay, well, it's kind of long and boring. And I've heard it a lot of times. I don't think your listener needs to hear it. So I say this, I say, who is your listener? And I get to know like the avatar. And then I say, what are they looking for? And I get to know like their strengths, their weaknesses, and kind of like their ultimate goal. And then I say, why don't you just tell them about this part of me? And the same thing when I'm the host, I have your bio. If I'm interviewing you, I've got your bio. I've got it written down in front of me. I scanned it. I asked you about 2 or 3 things. I also asked you, hey, what kind of value do you want to add to a podcaster today? And then I hear you out on this stuff that you want to talk to a podcaster. And then I go to the bio and I only pick the one thing or maybe 2 things max out of the 20 you gave me. I pick one thing and I say, today on this episode, we're talking about this way to overcome stage fright, we'll say. And no one else better to have on the show than Carl Swenson. Carl had stage fright this, and this way, and he got over it. And now he speaks on stage in front of millions of people. And I want to teach you how he did that. Let's dive in. And then I ask the direct question. And I dive right in. So I don't I don't tell them the bio. And I also, because it's lazy as shit to do this, and you are better than that, I don't go and say, welcome to the show, Carl. Why don't you tell our listener a little bit about you and how your background, how you got into this? Because if I'm a terrible host, I don't know that. But if I'm a good host, I already know a little bit about Carl, where he came from, how he got into this. And the only parts that I care to share with my listener is the piece that's going to sell my listener on what they need to do and that how they're going to learn what we're talking about today. All of the other bio doesn't matter. Did I start out this episode by telling you how many kids I had, how many animals I had, what their names were, where I went to college? No. Did I tell you how many episodes I've done? Did I tell you? No, none of that, because none of that matters to you based on the content of this episode right now. The things that do matter, I will tell you. If I'm talking about meetup groups and I was able to speak at meetup headquarters, then I'll bring it up. I'll be like, hey, today we're going to be talking about you running your own meetup group so you can be face to face with your people. I want to give you a little bit about me, not to brag, but I had one of the top 6 meetups on the entire planet. That's out of 225,000 meetups. And the point is that I spoke with the engineers at the 6th floor at Meetup HQ, which is in Manhattan, by the way. I've only been to Manhattan one time. It was when I was speaking at Meetup HQ. And so I'm sitting here with all these engineers and I asked them, why me? What got me to be one of the top 6 people out of 225,000 meetups? It's insane. And they start rattling off and listing the reasons why my meetup was ranked in the top of all in the world. And I'm going to share with you those 6 things, the 6 things that I got from me sitting in a circle of just the engineers at Meetup that went over the algorithms and how it worked, because I want you to be able to have a strong meetup. So I gave you the hook when I started that. I gave a hook as I went into all this stuff. And then I gave you the story, but the story wasn't just to brag. The story was to explain that the way that I'm going to share this with you is the way that the engineers shared it with me, so that you can get the same benefit, so that you can have a top meetup also, so you can meet more people in person or whatever. And then I start sharing it. But if I'm going to give you any part of my background, it's going to have a reason. And that reason is going to be able to support what we're learning on this episode. None of the other background of my guest or me ever matters. Only the stuff that will sell you to be able to support you and make you excited about and give you the takeaways for learning the thing that episode is about.